Mom was on drugs, and dad was just, it wasn't around really.
Was your dad around?
Not constantly. I knew his face, knew who he was, knew where he lived, but it were my uncles, my mom's brothers who were around more often than not. And I don't recall them ever being out of prison or YA or the Boys Ranch all at one time.
The biggest thing about, life is that when you're newborn, you feel me, you're supposed to be held, loved, nurtured, and cared, and that's the thing I never had. So I was, straight from the beginning, I was just orphanage, so.
My mom, she ran around with a lot of Hells Angels and bikers, so I was raised up around a lot of drug dealers, a lot of bikers, different boyfriends my mom had every day. I didn't know my dad.
Probably about 13 years old is whenever I started prostituting, probably.
At 13?
Yeah.
Prior to me committing the offense of going to prison and spending 26 years, 8 months in prison for a home invasion, murder, robbery.
I used to deal drugs. I did that for a couple years, for sure. And then while I was dealing drugs, actually, I got introduced to a lot of pimps.
I've been cut. I've been, I've been raped more than once, twice, 3, 4, 5 times, I've just been in places where I just never thought that I was going to be able to get out of, you know what I mean?
I stole a car, nice car too. This was in 1990, and it was a 1989 Ford Escort, brand new, right off.
That's the only reason why I use drugs, just so I don't have to think about everything, you know what I mean? Because I actually have bad anxiety. Anyways, I have bad anxiety. Like I am bad depression, whatever, PTSD or trauma.
Are you still using today?
Huh?
Are you still using today?
I can use crystal,
Crystal?
Not gonna lie,
Right. What does crystal do for you at this point? You've been using it for a long time, I think.
It keeps my mind stable, Keeps me from having to feel my own, my own emotions and stuff, Keeps me from having nightmares of stuff I've done in prison. A lot of stabbings. It's just how it is in there,
Look, the reality is America is crumbling right now, whether you girls want to agree with this or not.
There's a lot of strong single mothers that raise
single mother households are the bane of cultural existence.
I came from a single mother household, so I would love to comment on that.
I came from a single mother household. Let me tell you something. The amount of work that I had to fucking do to unfuck myself is incredibly difficult, and the average person would absolutely falter under that pressure.
Over the last 3 years, there's been much talk of pandemics, cultural degeneration, and societal upheaval. But I dare say that the biggest pandemic of this generation is the pandemic of fatherlessness. You see, not having a father in the home is the single biggest contributor to moral degeneracy, criminality, and emotional volatility, as well as mental weakness and the overarching collapse of modern society. Just as G. Michael Hopf said that weak men create hard times, we can see that the hard times that we are facing in the world today are the products of a weak, fatherless generation that creates weak, fatherless men. You see, according to a 2021 study, 37% of American kids are in a single-parent family, and 80% of single-parent homes are headed by a single mom. The statistics are far worse for the African-American community. As of 2011, it is reported that 72% of black babies were born to unmarried mothers. The statistic has increased to 77% as of 2015. So why does the lack of a father lead to degeneracy? Well, let me explain. Fathers provide discipline and a structural framework that a mother cannot provide. You see, a woman has a deeply rooted biological instinct to love on and to nurture her children. And so providing discipline and firmness is extremely difficult for a mother. And no matter how principled a mother is, even the best mothers cannot bring themselves to discipline the child every time he or she deserves it, and definitely not to the appropriate extent of severity required to decondition poor behavior. You see, a father is able to put emotion to the side and think objectively despite the crying of the child, to provide the necessary reinforcement to the child that is in the child's best interest. And I dare say that most mothers would prefer to have a man around to whom she can hand off the responsibility of disciplining the children, so that she can focus on nurturing and comforting as she is designed to do. You see, a man's presence even carries more respect in disciplining children than a woman. How many times have you seen a mom being ran to her wit's end all day long by children who won't listen to her? But the moment a man comes home, the kids immediately stand at attention and behave. From personal experience, I've been in relationships with single moms who have been ran wild by their children all day. They've been yelling at their children, even trying to discipline their children with spanking and other different corrective mechanisms, and the children still just don't listen. But the moment I come over and I say, "Stop that," the authority in my voice as a man instantly elicits a new kind of respect and a new kind of obedience in the children. You see, God intended for the order of a home to be kept by a man, because a man's voice and a man's presence carries an authority that women just don't have, and a frame and masculinity that kids born to single mothers lack. You see, having a father provide discipline is particularly important for young boys, since most boys no longer feel threatened or subservient to their mothers once they hit the teenage years, as they are usually significantly bigger and stronger than the average adult female at this point. Boys also need a father in their life to be a masculine role model who teaches them how to be a man. Without this role model, these impressionable young boys often turn to the streets and gravitate to the men that are around them, oftentimes drug dealers, gangbangers, and other misguided youth. Or they turn to popular cultural influences like rappers and celebrities who propagate an unrealistic image of the world, frequently glorifying negative and destructive lifestyles like the drug culture and violence. You see, a boy also needs a male role model in his life to teach him stoicism and emotional regulation. If all he has to look up to as a role model is his mother, he doesn't learn this, as women are emotional creatures who respond to the world based on how they feel and are usually subjected to their own emotional volatility. Women can get away with this, as women are the physically weaker sex and generally are a lot more harmless when they respond to their emotions. Women have far fewer infrastructural and civilization building roles than men have, and so it is pretty insignificant when they are swayed by their emotions and greatly impacted in their performance based on how they feel. However, men are way too powerful to be emotionally volatile and live only by how they feel. You see, prisons are full of emotional men, murderers, rapists, school shooters, who are not able to subjugate how they feel to the control of logic and personal responsibility. Think about this. A man's sex drive is far more powerful and more ravenous than anything a woman could ever understand. Imagine how dangerous to society a man would be if he were not able to control his emotions and if he were to act on every single one of his sexual impulses. This is why fathers are needed, because even the most principled and most disciplined single mothers are more emotional than a present father would be. Daughters also have a crucial need for fathers. This is because a dad is the first and likely the only man in a woman's life to love a girl unconditionally without wanting anything in return. You see, every other man that a woman meets going forward in her life, past her dad, is going to want something out of her, mainly something sexual. You see, if a woman understands what true unconditional love is from her dad, then she will know fully what it is to be loved. She will know what true love looks like. But if she doesn't have that person, that father figure in her life from a young age to show her what true unconditional love is, that does not require anything in return, then as she gets older and has an interest in men, has an interest in boys, she's going to be conditioned to seek love based on how she gets it. In other words, she's going to see that men generally give her attention and give her affection when she is sexually promiscuous, when she opens up herself to them in a sexual, intimate way. And so then she's going to learn, hey, you know what? If I want to get loved, all I have to do is be sexual. All I have to do is be promiscuous, and then men will love me. And that is how hoes are created. That is how promiscuous women are created. And I dare say in many cases, when a woman is promiscuous, it is not purely because she loves sex. It is not purely because she has a great and large sexual appetite. But it is more so she is crying, please, someone love me. And this is the only way that she knows how to be loved. Because she did not have a father figure. She did not have a strong masculine role model in her formative years to show her what true unconditional love from a man really is. And so she pursues love and affection from men in the only way that she's been conditioned to do so, by giving up her body, by giving up her sexuality in exchange for affection, in exchange for love, in exchange for attention. And in the pursuit of this love, she becomes highly vulnerable to those who would seek to use the illusion of love to exploit vulnerable women, i.e. pimps, sex traffickers, and abusive men. And a woman's lack of self-love and low self-esteem from being used as a sex object by man after man after man makes her more likely to think that she's not enough for a quality man. She may want one, but she feels like she doesn't deserve it because all she's ever been used as is a sex object by many men. And so she settles for the bottom feeder men around her, who she thinks that she deserves, who of course use and exploit her, impregnate her, and then leave, which further perpetuates the broken cycle of single motherhood. This is why fathers are important. To give young women the precedence of true unconditional love from a man, so that they won't go down this vicious cycle of self-destruction and promiscuity. Because oftentimes, even the women that are able to recover from this vicious cycle, by the time they do, by the time they learn through life experiences their true worth and what unconditional love really is, they've already accumulated so much baggage and so much damage that they lower their probability of getting a man of value. So a father is important to be able to instill self-worth, self-value, self-respect, and the true ideology of love into a daughter from a young age. What a father also provides for his daughter is the precedent of respecting the boundaries, the leadership, and the authority of a man, which translates to stable and functional romantic relationships as an adult in the future. It is safe to say that the skyrocketing divorce rate in Western society, where women initiate over 80% of relationship breakups, is particularly due to the pandemic of fatherlessness, which causes a lack of respect and honor of men by women, leading to contentious and argumentative relationships and the furthering of single mom societies. Now, in case you don't believe what I'm saying, here are some very direct and very specific statistics to drive the point home. Children from fatherless homes fare far worse in metrics of overall well-being and mental behavioral health. Overall, children from single-parent families are twice as likely to suffer from mental health problems as those living with married parents. Research also suggests that high-risk children in single-parent homes have nearly 5 times greater a chance of developing mood disorders than those in dual-parent households, even when controlling for household income, age, and depression status of parents. In light of these statistics, it is no surprise that 90% of all homeless and runaway children, 63% of teen suicides, and 85% of children and teens with behavioral disorders come from fatherless homes. Fatherless families are 25% more likely to raise children in poverty. And children without fathers are also 10 times more likely to abuse drugs. And 71% of all children who abuse drugs come from fatherless homes. Conversely, an at-risk youth with a mentor in their lives are 40% less likely to use drugs and 81% more likely to participate in sports or other forms of extracurricular activities. Also, fatherless children are twice as likely to drop out of high school than children with both parents at home. The fatherless are also 40% more likely to repeat a class and 70% more likely to drop out of school. Fatherlessness also has a link to higher abortion rates, and 1 out of every 3 pregnancies in a fatherless home ends in an abortion. 70% of teenage pregnancies come from women raised in fatherless homes, and these same women have significantly higher abortion rates than women raised by both father and mother. Criminal activity and fatherlessness are closely related as well. Of all the youths in state-operated institutions, roughly 70% came from fatherless homes, and 85% of all youths in prison come from fatherless homes. On the whole, fatherless kids are 20 times more likely to be incarcerated and 11 times more likely to exhibit violent behavior than children from 2-parent households. What is wild is that with all of these statistics for single mother households in mind, when looking at the outcomes of children from single father households, they're the same as those for children of two-parent households, which proves that fathers are essential. If single mother households carry a higher risk of children living a life of degeneracy, but yet single father households have the same positive results as a two-parent household, does that not show that fathers, strong fathers in the home, are definitely needed? Now, just because you were raised in a single mother home, it does not guarantee that you will turn out as a degenerate in society. However, it does mean that you are definitely at a statistical disadvantage. It can be safe to say that the old saying that fathers keep sons out of jail and daughters off of stripper poles has proven itself to be true. So what can you do to combat this pandemic of fatherlessness? Well, the answer, in all cases, is personal responsibility. If you are a woman who does not yet have children, seek a man for a relationship who shows the characteristics of a strong, masculine leader and a good father. Not the guy that is exciting and fulfills your needs for drama and emotional thrills. And most of all, choose not to have children until a man is committed to you with their ring and his last name. Once you have chosen to make a man the father of your children, choose to make the relationship with that man work, despite all of the garbage feminist and anti-family indoctrination the media pushes towards you. And if you are already a single mom, then you should put aside your petty differences and seek to have the father of your child in your child's life as much as possible. If the man you chose to lay down with and create children with is a deadbeat, a criminal, or a loser, then you should draw close to a strong male family member, like a brother, a grandparent, or an uncle. Even if it means moving back home with your parents or grandparents until you find a strong, masculine husband so that your child can have the benefit of growing up under the positive role model of a strong, disciplined, and structured man. Now I'll repeat something again to drive home the whole idea of personal responsibility. If the father of your children is not present because he's a loser, because he's a deadbeat, because he's a criminal, you have to take personal responsibility and understand that this is the man that you chose to make into a father, and you can only seek to do better in the future. Now, if moving back in with your parents so that your child can have some kind of a strong masculine role model in his life is not an option because you yourself came from a broken home, then you should seek out for your child a positive male influence like a pastor, a martial arts instructor, a mentor, or a coach, and have him around your child as often as possible so that the child can have the benefit of the masculine frame of a father figure that the data shows they desperately need to become a functioning member of society. As a single mom, if you are fortunate enough to have a man of value take you seriously in a relationship, you should cling to that man and do whatever it takes to make the relationship work. Even if that means making concessions on some of the things that you think you have to be happy. This means not being annoying, not nagging, being cooperative, following this man's leadership, and not needing to always have the last word. Once again, if you get blessed enough to have a man of value that will take you seriously despite your baggage, if you want this man to raise and to provide for your child like it is his own, you must grant this man the authority to discipline and raise the child as he would his own without you constantly being a hindrance. Please keep in mind that your feelings are not as important as the well-being of the child, and that you are extremely blessed to be claimed by a good man, especially one of high value given the baggage that you bring to the table. Now, I'm going to speak to the men. As for you men, if you bring a child into the world, no matter the circumstance, it is your God-given responsibility to provide for, protect, and raise that child. If you as a man are not willing to do this, then you are not worthy of the set of balls between your legs, and you are not worthy to call yourself a man. Even if the mother of the child is contentious, spiteful, and petty, trying her best to keep you away from your child, you should still strive to be as present as possible in that child's life, and make sure that this child is financially provided for. I dare say that if you are persistent for an entire childhood in trying to be present for the child, and making sure all of the child's physical needs are met, despite how horrible the mom is, or how much she may slander your name to the child, When that kid is old enough to make his or her own decisions, your actions and your consistency and character over the years will likely stand out more boldly to the child than the lies that have been told to him. And you will probably have a higher likelihood of influencing the child's decision of how he or she wants to bond with you. In all things, dads, you should be a man worth looking up to. Your child's well-being supersedes your convenience. Let me say that again. Dads, your child's well-being supersedes your convenience. And be sure, when you are dealing with women, that you give her a ring before you give her a baby. Now, for you young men that are the product of a single mother home, here are some practical ways that you can undo your disadvantages. Seek out a positive male role model to show you the right way to live life as a man. Now, I believe martial arts is something that every young man should participate in, as it provides structure, discipline, and masculine mentorship, as well as camaraderie. And even if you don't have any men around you that you can look up to, the internet is full of many strong masculine influences you can have as role models in your life. Influences like myself, the Tate brothers, Justin Waller, and Patrick Bet-David, whose content you can consume to learn how to dominate life as an alpha male who is a leader in society and who is respected by his peers. As a matter of fact, part of the reason why I created this podcast, part of the reason why I founded the MD Medic podcast, is so that if I were to have a son and something were to happen to me, my son would still have a collection of recorded life lessons that I would want him to learn in his journey to becoming a man. He would have a way where he can hear my voice. He can hear the voice of his father, speaking to him, giving him guidance through life long after I'm gone, and how he can become a man of value. You see, on this channel, I'm all about making men the strongest, the sexiest, the most high-value men they can be. But an important part of becoming a strong man is raising strong sons. Because weak men create hard times. And only you can save us from this pandemic of fatherlessness. Now go forth and conquer, my friends. The world is yours.